If you're itching to learn how to create bass lines, then keep watching. Hey there, Dan from onlinebasscourses.com. Now that website is my blog that I've had for about 3 years now, and I get loads of questions through it and this channel about how to create bass lines. My other website, onlinebassplayer.com, I record bass lines for people around the world all the time. So I'm creating bass lines a lot, and kind of it occurred to me that lots of what I do and lots of how people make up bass lines is kind of using the same handful of things. And despite the title of this video being music theory heavy, that is a big part of it, and it will be for this lesson, but there'll be other elements. It's never one thing that makes you a good bass player. It's things like sense of timing, knowledge of different styles, groove, knowledge of the fretboard. So as we go along, we'll do that. Now, YouTube 101 is that you really should prepare yourself before you do a video. But for this one, I was really excited to get this down. So I've got a few little notes. I kind of know what key I'm in. Apart from that, I haven't made any examples up. I'm going to make it all up on the spot as we go, just to show you that you can do this yourself. And I'll show you the little elements I'm using as I go to hopefully inspire you, to give you some ideas for your own thing. So invariably, I am probably going to forget little things that I do, and I'm going to just do some strange diversions that I sometimes do when I teach people one-on-one. So bear with me on that, and if I do skirt over something or go over it too quickly, then just let me know. Get in contact via the comments or via my site, where you can download a free ebook, by the way, so you should go there anyway. And yeah, let me know, and I'll do a video on that. And as we go, I'll put links to videos which explains a little concept further, because I'm not going to go too deep into explaining anything. So I'm going to do this in the key of G major. That's G major. It's got an F sharp in it. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And its natural minor of E natural minor. It's relative minor, sorry, I should say. So every major scale has a relative key. And in G, it's E minor. They both have different flavors. So I'm going to start off, I'll do sort of a mid-tempo kind of pop rock type thing. I'm going to use eighth notes. So eighth notes is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I'll just dive in. Okay, so what I was doing there, I was just doing basically a chord progression. A scale has 7 different notes, and on every single one of those you can build a chord. Now, us bass players tend not to play chords, although you can, it's really cool. We tend to play the root notes or the notes from the chord tones or the arpeggio. So all those things you need to know. But I was keeping it really relatively simple there. I was going from the first note in the scale to the 5th, to the 6th, to the 4th. So yeah, to the 4th. So musicians will say 1, 5, 6, 4. That's a 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression. And I wasn't playing chords, I was just playing the root notes. So sticking to roots is a really good way of doing it. So sticking to roots, and I was doing 8th notes. Now that kind of stuff there, that sounds really cool if you do that. Here's just a great tip. So this is G major and the G major pentatonic scale. You can use that scale or any of the notes within the G major scale to connect up the 1, the 5, the 6 or the 4, okay? Which in this case is G, D, E, C. So this is the scale I'll play. I'll show you a really good way of playing it actually. So first finger on the 3rd fret, which is G, and then go to the 5th to the 7th of the E string, and then 5th to 7th of the A string, and then repeat that pattern an octave higher. Get loads of things you can do with slides and hammer-ons, and that's what I mean actually when I said before, where yes, this is about music theory, but when you start to add in some techniques and some flair and some feel, that's when creating the bass line sounds much more interesting. So like so I just went 8th notes on G to D, and just some slidey stuff around that pentatonic scale before I hit the E minor. and just there walking down, back up a scale. So just using the notes from the G major scale and or the major pentatonic. Now you can get by playing so many bass lines in so many different styles just by knowing that, just by knowing your major scale, the notes within it, the different chords that you're going to. I mean, I only played the root notes of the chord. I wasn't doing anything fancy. But let's veer off now. Let's go reggae, and this time I will use triads. A triad is when you get the first, the third, and the fifth notes of a scale. So here's the G major. I play the first, third, and fifth. I get a triad. That's a G major triad. Each note of the scale has its own triad. So what am I going to do? I don't know. I'll play it and tell you afterwards. Okay, so I was going G triad with a sort of roughly generic reggae type feel. So it's kind of dun 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 bum bum. You know, again, that's knowledge of a style. Okay, it's good enough to be passable as reggae. Okay. Then I'm going to the C, but this time instead of playing root notes, I'm playing exactly the same shape. It's the same. It's both major. So. And there I went to the 7th fret E. Now it's minor, so I was doing a minor triad there. Like I say, I'm not going to explain the different things. I've got videos that do that, so go and check those ones out. Let's move to the relative minor. So that's E minor. Now, so the major has this happy, bright, feel to it, sound and vibe to it. And if I go minor, I'm going to create something a bit darker. Great for rock. So again, let's make something. I'll go rock. I'll stick to those 8th notes. I'll speed it up a little bit. Okay, that's too long. I'm gonna change to a bit of a shorter riff. Okay, that'll do. So that would have been sort of, I was sticking to E, like you can imagine a guitar just doing an E power chord there. And I was just using the first 3 notes of the scale, E, F sharp, and G. Loads of bass lines in lots of different styles are kind of hooks, okay? Little melodic patterns there. That's the speed. And rock uses that. It uses this idea of short repeating patterns, okay? I used the major pentatonic earlier. I'm going to use the minor pentatonic here. And again, if you're into rock or funk, you can probably get by 80% of the time over decades playing this one thing. It's just amazing how it happens. But so we've got an E minor pentatonic scale. That's 1 octave. And a blues scale. Sorry. You just add a flat 5 to your pentatonic, minor pentatonic, you get a blues scale. So there I was just speeding it up a little bit, and just again, you can imagine a drum beat. Just staying on an E. I could go to different chords. I had to do a little edit there because my DSLR annoyingly only goes to 10 minutes. But I was just playing rock, and I'm going to switch to a kind of funk style, but with the same kind of notes. So funk is characterized by short notes on the bass. I didn't really talk about note length, but note length is really important. So if I do like a short riff, a bit like rock, it uses kind of short patterns, but again with very syncopated rhythm. So again, I'll make something. I'll probably go about about there. See that? Short notes. But that's it, the E minor pentatonic scale. Again, brilliant for that kind of style of music. I think I'm going to go to modes now. So I was just playing funk there, and a mode that is really, really good for funk music is the Dorian mode. Now, you would have heard this before in this bass line. Which is Good Times by Chic. Now, sticking into that's the only rule I'm doing for this lesson. Is I'm just going to stay in the key of G and G major, E natural minor. So the second note of a major scale gives you the starting note of the mode, so of the Dorian mode. So in G major, you go to A and you play all the notes of G major, so A, B, C, D, E. Remember that F sharp and G, A. That will give us a Dorian. So, that I'm going to make my funk thing up in A Dorian. I'm writing a funk book at the moment, so I've just done 100 bass lines that I've written, and the Dorian mode featured a lot in that. And that's what I meant earlier by saying that it's never just one thing when you're learning the bass. That's a bit of theory. Note length is important. Knowledge of the fact that you organize these notes into kind of a short pattern, and that comes by listening to loads of music, and you just hear these clues happening over and over again. And that's one thing I recommend you do is listen widely to lots of different styles of music, and you pick up all these clues as you go. So I want to do my funk thing in A Dorian. So I'm still that is a mode that belongs to the key of G. So I'm still within this family or this home of G. Okay, what else should we do? So, yeah, chord progressions was a really important thing. I spoke about that 1, 5, 6, 4 earlier for that pop rock little number we were doing. And obviously you can kind of see how this veers towards composition, doesn't it? So you can use this for jamming, you can use this for improvising, someone sends you a track how to make up a bass line, but also you can come up with your own ideas using this. Of course you can. So for general all-round musicianship, it's really great. So let's do this. I'm going to go to in the key of G. I'm just going to G, A, B. I'm going to go B to C. Again, I'm not going to go through this. I've got a link to another video. But the third chord in a major key is minor. In this case, B minor. I'm just doing a 10th there. So 7th fret of the E string is the B, and the 7th fret of the G string is the D, and that's a minor 10th. The next note in the scale is C, right next to it, so the 8th fret, and that's 10th, so. Kind of like an NERD type thing there. In fact, Chad Hugo and Pharrell Williams use that chord progression quite a lot, that sort of 3 to the 4, Justin Timberlake as well. And so I was just playing a rhythm. Knowing the role of the bass is important. You're there to provide the low end. You're there, in the case of kind of pop, you're there to provide a bridge between the melody, the harmony, and the rhythm. There was rhythm there. There was harmony because I was outlining some of the notes of the chord, and hopefully there was melody. So the bass is really important because you get to bridge all those 3 really important aspects of music, and no other instrument really does that. So what else do I need to talk about? I mean, look, I could do a video that lasts the whole day talking about this, and this is a YouTube video, so I've got to try and keep it short. I'm going to miss out loads of things. That's why I want you to really comment below on any questions that kind of spring from this, because I don't want to make the video too long. It's already, I'm looking over there, it's already going to be around 15 to 20 minutes, okay? Which is cool, but you know, we'll keep things relatively short. One more thing whilst I'm thinking about it is, so you're playing a song, and if it's in the key of G, the songwriter has a little progression where it goes from C to D, C major to D major. That happens loads. Loads of songs I've played on recently, it does that. That's the 4 to the 5. So, you know, really simply, the notes are C and D, 3rd fret to the 5th fret of the A string. You could just go. But a really common question is, you know, how to make that more interesting. Well, let's talk about notes. So, I mean, you could think this way. Over the C, a C Lydian would work. Over the D, a D Mixolydian would work. Again, don't worry if you don't know what that means. But that's Lydian. That's Mixolydian. Really, just think, I'm in the key of G. That's another way to think. All the notes in the key of G would work. So to make it a little bit more interesting, you could do something like. Now that's an F sharp. Remember, the key of G had F sharp in it. You have to play that. When you do notes from the scale, it sounds melodic, it sounds tuneful. So if you want to do that, if you want to add more melodicism into your playing, then use notes from the scale. Okay, that works. Either thinking that I'm in the key of G, or you do know your modes. Ultimately, you get to the same place. It's just two different ways of thinking about the same thing. And what about if you want to add some interest using another device? Well, let's think about, I think it's helpful to go, you've got your harmony, your melody, and your rhythm. So let's change the rhythm a bit. So instead of going, why don't we go? Now, context is key. I'm just playing on my own here, making stuff up on the spot. If you're in a band, the drum is going to be really important, what the bass drum is doing. You can go with it, you can go against it. There's so many ideas here. And again, I'm coming back to listening to lots of different styles of music here. I'm going to finish on this last thing, otherwise I'll be going forever. A little pattern there. Over the C, I was going C, and then dropping down to the 3rd fret, which is the 5th, the interval of a 5th, and the 5th fret, which is an interval of the 6th. That pattern, you've heard that before. So once you listen to loads of bass lines and you work it out, you figure out what works over it. You can figure things out just by ear, by knowing theory. I think just the more you know, the better. Don't be scared off by knowing the secrets, you know, knowing theory. I think the more you know, the better. So yeah, that was a bit of a random lesson, but I hope it's given you some ideas anyway on how to create your own bass lines. You're more likely to have lots of questions after that, because it was a bit sort of veering through the weeds a bit, wasn't it? So yeah, just get in contact. Let me know if there are any questions, or you want me to do more videos like this, or on specific songs, whatever. And I'll see you on the next video. I forgot to say, if you did like that video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, that really helps, and get in contact. Let me know what you want next.